Dharma can never be negative. But then when you go through certain experiences, your dharmic perspective may make you perceive it as painful or pleasant. I go back to Maharishi Patanjali in this. He talks about the Chittavrittis. When talking about the Chittavrittis, Patanjali doesn't really condemn them as such. And this is why I think more than controlling them, we have to transcend them. I go back to Dr. M.B. Bole, who said Nirodha is not control but transcendence of the vritti. Chitta vritti, Nirodha, the vrittis are there, you have transcended it, so there is no impact on you anymore. The chitta vrittis don't rule your consciousness anymore because you have gone above them. They are still playing in the mud. You have gone beyond the mud. And what does Patanjali say? He says the chitta vrittis, they can either be klishta or aklishta. It is a very interesting statement because one of the chitta vrittis is pramana. Pramana is given great importance in our culture. Proper, appropriate perception is vital. In fact, we say pramana patra, which means a document that gives you that direct, wholesome, convincing evidence. But it is the vritti. Because it is keeping you engaged in subconscious, unconscious activity, not giving you an opportunity to go beyond it into conscious and superconscious, supraconscious state. Hence, it has to be transcended. But that same cognition, that same perception can be positive or negative, can be painful or non-painful. You see somebody you love, hopefully it is not a painful experience. You see somebody who you don't really like, or who you know doesn't like you at all, it can be a negative experience. The same pramana vritti, when it looks at something that is pleasant in your mouth, when it tastes a beautiful sweet, can be a pleasant experience. And if you have taken poison and you realize you have taken poison, can be a very negative experience. It is the same pramana vritti that is either experiencing pain or pleasure. So the vritti itself is not painful or non-painful. It is the experience coming through the vritti. And that is why once you transcend it, there is no raga, there is no dvesha, there is no attraction, there is no repulsion towards attraction towards what gives you pleasure. Sukhanushayi ragaha. And that which gives you suffering, you run away from it. Dukkhanushayi dveshaha. Raga and dvesha, you have transcended. And the Bhagavad Gita says, Raga dvesha vimuktaistu vishayan indriyascharan. When you have transcended and you are content and you are no longer caught up in the sensory objects. Raga, dvesha vimuktaistu vishayan indriyascharan. Atma vashye vidayatma. When you are self-satisfied, prasadam adhigachyate, you have the highest tranquility, peacefulness and clarity of consciousness. So that is why, whether it is a negative cycle, whether it is a positive cycle, how do you perceive it? How do you use it? How do you learn from it? Well, if you learn, how can it be negative? How can an experience be negative if you have learned from it? And how can it be positive if you have learned nothing from it? And this is where what we find is that it is during the most testing times that we have the greatest spiritual learning. Not when you are having all your gulab jamans. Because the same experience which seemed pleasant at one time may not be perceived as being pleasant later. The same experience that was perceived as painful at that time may be understood as being pleasant later, as you grow in consciousness. What you consider the worst day of your life may become the best day of the life when you look at it in hindsight. We never know. The day is the same. The event is the same. The cycle was the same. What has happened? Your perception has grown as you have grown. Hopefully.